this all new cab for the Pioneer is really something else when it comes to safety. So it's a high strength steel cab, and it is the safest cab we've ever had in our history. It passes, of course, all the federal safety standards here in North America, but we have taken a couple steps further.
Welcome to Beyond the Bulldog, presented by Mack Trucks. I'm your host, Brian Wright. What you can expect from Beyond the Bulldog is to learn, enjoy, and participate from the comfort of your seat, whether on the road or off. You'll engage in topics and stories from people that work in the trucking industry, including some who work for Mack Trucks. Our second of 3 episodes, centered around Mack Pioneer, features Scott Sokach, Senior Product Manager, Complete Vehicle and Safety. Scott has been around trucks his entire life. It started with his father, who was a trucker. And after graduating from East Carolina University, Scott earned his CDL and hit the road. These miles eventually connected him with Mack Trucks, where he's been since 2012.
You're listening to Beyond the Bulldog, presented by Mack Trucks.
Scott Sokach, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Brian. Nice to be here.
Great. Well, for everybody listening and viewing, would you explain or introduce what your title is and what you do?
Sure. So I am Senior Product Manager for Complete Vehicle and Safety for Mack Trucks. So our group really manages our product portfolio. So based on our R&D budget that we have every year, we'll prioritize what projects that we want to bring to market for our customers. And, a lot of that has to do with customer input. What are we lacking in the product that the customer needs? What new technology is out there that we want to put into the trucks? So those are what we're looking at when we prioritize our projects.
How do you get that information from customers?
So a lot of feedback from, field sales, interviewing customers, our dealers. There's a lot of interaction with our field and sales.
So when a customer inquires or offers a suggestion, how do we take that to implement in some of our trucks?
Sure. So, it could be something that we have a running project where maybe we bring this idea into the project that way. Or if it's something, totally new and we think it's important, we'll put the priority on it and work with engineering to implement that down the line in a new introduction.
Awesome. So tell me, how long have you been with Mack?
So 13 years this year.
13. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, been in the trucking industry my whole career, and I actually was born into the industry. So my dad was also in the industry. He worked for 2 other OEMs during his career, and he retired with 50 years in the industry. And now this will be my 27th year in the trucking industry.
Well, that's pretty neat. So I guess you've been around it your whole life.
Yeah.
Did you bring trucks home and you looked at it and climb in it and honk the horn?
Absolutely. Yeah. That was the coolest thing is when Dad brought a truck home and, all the neighborhood kids would pile in and we'd go for a ride.
Yeah.
Get taken to school in the truck. It was pretty cool.
That's very cool. I remember sitting in the back seat on a family vacation, doing the honk the horn. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you drove a truck too, right?
I did. So when I got out of college, I went straight into truck driving school. And that was an 8-week course, 5 days a week, 7:30 to 5. So pretty intensive.
Yeah.
Truck driving course that I went through. Course classroom work, but we did a lot of driving. So we had a skills course set up, and then we did a lot of on-road driving as well. But so I got my CDL early on and hit the road, driving over-the-road truck from there. So
nice.
Drove the East Coast and up into Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
For a while, and then got into truck and trailer sales, and was in that for about 12 years, I guess, something like that,
Yeah.
before I came over to Mack.
Wow. So what was your schooling? What was your major in college?
So graduated with a marketing degree.
Got it.
Yeah,
You're all over the place.
a little bit.
Marketing to driving a truck to selling.
To sales, which is kind of related
Yep.
to the marketing
Yep.
aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now you're with one of the biggest brands out there.
yeah, for sure. Most iconic brand
Yeah.
in trucking.
What would you say has been the biggest help in what you're doing today? Like some of your background.
So yeah, I mean, it all has kind of come full circle. So all that experience that I've gained over the years has really helped me in the position I'm in now, because I have a feel for the truck. I have it's probably over 400,000 miles now in
Yeah.
a tractor trailer. So
Yeah.
I know what it's like to live in it 24 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. And then from the sales side, building those customer relationships, listening to their concerns, trying to solve their transportation problems, that really feeds back into this project role that I'm in now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a good experience.
Fantastic. Well, we just had the reveal and the release of our Mack Pioneer.
Yeah,
So tell me, what are your impressions?
it's awesome. I mean, I really love this new Pioneer. It's been a long time. I mean, I've probably been working on this project in some capacity since probably 2017-ish, something like that.
8 years.
And then I became full-time dedicated to it in 2020. So yeah, it's been a lot of work.
So if my mind or history tells me right, that was pretty much at the launch of the Mack Anthem, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we pretty much went from it right into this new platform.
So Anthem being an on-highway tractor,
Yep.
why in the world did they want to build the Pioneer if they already had one or just released one?
So Anthem's a great truck.
Yeah.
But for us, for the Mack brand, the Pioneer is the next level for the highway market. I mean, this really, I think, fills all the needs of a on-highway, long-haul trucking operation. Truck is super driver-focused with, all the extra interior room we have in it, the ride and handling, the comfort, and it's the best safety we've ever put into one of our Mack trucks with the new Pioneer.
Yeah. So my next question was like, if you had the blank sheet of paper at the start of Pioneer, what were those items listed that we really want to get it right? Because the development takes a little bit of time, but then you want it to last in the market too.
Yeah.
So what were those initial concepts of this is what we want that truck to be?
Yeah, so one of the things we had to do was make a more fuel efficient truck. Not only for our customers' bottom line, but also the increasingly stringent greenhouse gas requirements that the government has put on the trucking industry. So, we had to have an aerodynamic truck, which kind of dictated the shape of the truck in some respects. So a lot of the design went into the aero aspect of the truck. And then aside from that, I think one of the biggest things we looked at was, driver comfort. We knew with our current products, maybe we were a little lacking compared to the competition, and this was the opportunity for us to really leapfrog ahead of the competition in long haul market.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got Mack that's also celebrating 125 years.
Yeah.
Pretty spectacular. And we've got the entire history and heritage that surrounds us. How do you incorporate that into something new? So you're trying to break the boundaries of what you're developing, but you also want to pay homage to what happened in the past.
When I think of heritage with Mack, it's all about kind of application excellence is something we always talk about in the Mack brand. From the first, the Manhattan bus that the Mack brothers first produced back in 1900. I mean, they saw a need in the market, and they met it with that vehicle. And I think today with the Pioneer, we knew what the market needed. We listened to our customers, and we created this new Pioneer that I think really knocks it out of the park as far as meeting those, the fuel efficiency, the driver comfort that you really need in a long haul truck.
This year, Mack Trucks celebrates its 125th anniversary and the release of our new flagship truck, Mack Pioneer. To commemorate these historic milestones, Mack Shop has released limited edition apparel and accessories. From shirts and hats to coffee mugs and bags, Mack Shop has lots of ways for you to show off your love of this iconic American brand. And right now, podcast listeners can save 20% off selected items just by using the code MACPODCAST. One word, no spaces. Just go to MackShop.com for all the latest Mack styles and make sure to use the code MACPODCAST to get 20% off. We're here with Scott Sokach. He's a Senior Product Manager, Complete Vehicle and Safety with Mack Trucks. So let's dive into driver comfort.
Sure.
Jonathan Randall, mentioned that this truck, the Mack Pioneer, was built around the driver. What are the areas that really relate to driver comfort, and how do you create it with that in mind? Do you build around it, or is there a space that you're working with? How does that work?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple key areas that we focus on there. I think one is the ride and handling of the truck to give you that comfortable ride. And then I think, other areas are inside the cab. I mean, you got to look at the driver compartment, kind of the cockpit of the truck. Need to make sure that everything is comfortable. The seat has to be comfortable. The driving position has to be comfortable. The layout of your dash, it needs to be easy reach, easy access to the information the driver needs to operate the vehicle. And then you have the living environment in the sleeper. You got to have a comfortable mattress. You got to have somewhere that you can rest and relax after, 11-hour plus day behind the wheel of these long haul trucks. So I think, we'll start back at the ride and handling of the trucks. Yeah. So in my position, I've been able to participate in what we call summer test trips, where we take some of our latest trucks, and then we take competitive trucks out on the road. So one of the first trips we did left Greensboro, North Carolina, and 4 trucks, 2 drivers in each truck. And we team drove from here all the way out to Bullhead City, Arizona, and did some testing out there in the desert on some hills. And, and each day we'd kind of switch different trucks and get different feel for what the other OEMs are doing as far as ride comfort, handling of the trucks. But this turned into kind of a 10-day trip throughout the West and back to Greensboro. But, from there we learned a lot about where we are with our trucks, where competitive trucks are. And I think, we asked for some improvements in our vehicles, in the quality of the ride in the cab, in the front suspension, and over the course of, this goes back to probably 2016, 2017 that we started this journey. And, engineering really paid attention, really listened to us. And they created several iterations of prototypes of, new cab suspensions, new front suspensions. And we have had clinics over the years, driving each of those and critiquing them. And they kept tweaking on them. And we got to where we are now today with the new Pioneer. And it's incredible. The ride and handling of this new truck is second to none. I've been really impressed with what our engineering team was able to do in that area of this truck. I think it really shines when you get in the seat and take it for a ride.
The truck is designed to deliver whatever you're hauling, right?
Yeah.
So it's the machine behind the profitability, because if a company is delivering whatever that product is, that's what's making the money. Obviously, the truck is the vehicle to make that all happen. And at the end of the day, you want, the reliability and all the power and the performance, but to be able to do that and be comfortable at the same time. I mean, is there a give and a take, or is an and, right? So you can have both too.
Really, we got what we wanted. We got what we asked for.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible the improvements we've made to the ride. You have a really planted feel, but it absorbs a shock. So, I mean, I think drivers out there will know, especially out on the highway, you're hitting the overpasses. The truck hits it, you take the bump, but then you have the trailer that hits it later. And that puts when it's not tuned right, it puts what we call a trailer tug on the truck. And you'll feel that in the seat. It's just like it yanks back on you when that trailer hits the truck. And with this new Pioneer, you don't feel that anymore.
Nice.
It's incredible. I mean, I've even driven some of our testing with the air dumped out of the air suspension seat, and it rides better than today's truck.
Fantastic.
So, I mean, it's an incredible ride, and you really need to get out and experience it for yourself.
Well, having seen the interior, it's up to standard, with today's even automotive industry, right? The look, the feel, the lighting, the materials. So, speak about the cab side of driver comfort, if you will.
Sure. And yeah, it's a good point that you just made. I mean, today's trucks, I mean, the fit and finish, the materials are so far advanced. I mean, they're equal to your passenger car. So yeah, I mean, even 10 years ago, there's night and day difference, what you're going to experience in the Pioneer.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But yeah, I mean, from the interior aspect around the driver, I mean, you really, like I said before, we start with the cockpit, the driver's seat. It's all new for the Pioneer. The design team did an incredible job with the cushion, the shape, the feel of it. It's a super comfortable seat that we have. We also incorporated a lot of new features that we haven't had. So heat and ventilated seats. We have a back massager now, so it's incredible the amount of driver comfort. And we've increased the width of the cab along, so like a day cab, the back wall, that area, so at your shoulders in the truck. I think we're about 9 inches wider than today's Anthem. So now we're able to put dual armrests on the seats. So there's all kinds of just little tweaks that we made to really step up the driver comfort in the new Pioneer.
Well, we've alluded to the fact that driving isn't so easy, right? It can be up to 11 hours per day, repeat, especially if they're going across the country.
Yeah.
But even if you're doing just normal routes, fatigue sets in. What does the comfort mean? How does that translate to the driver? Not just, I guess, two sides of the equation. What's the benefit for the driver, and their performance, if you will, but also on the other side for the business? Why would it be important for them to consider having this level of comfort in their fleet?
Sure. So, I mean, the more comfortable we can make the driver, the less fatigue they're going to have over their shift in the seat. And that, again, a more rested driver is a more alert driver. It's going to be safer. So for the company, you're going to have a safer driver in that seat all day long. So I think that's really important.
So let's go further back as we're talking about driver comfort. Let's talk about the sleeper. It's way different than the sleeper that we currently have in our Anthem because there are different configurations that you can have as far as the bunks. Would you speak to that on how that came about?
Sure. So in current product in the Anthem today, I mean, we really just have a flat bunk option in that truck. So, and we only have 2 sleeper sizes. So we have a 48 and a 70 inch. So with the new Pioneer, we have 3 different sleeper sizes. So we have a 44, a 64, and a 76 inch length sleeper. And with the bunks, of course, we still carry over your just traditional flat mattress in the back. But we also have an option for a reclining bunk now. So, just adds a little more comfort for the driver when they're relaxing. Mm-hmm. You can kind of prop the back of the bunk up or the mattress up. And, if you're watching TV or reading a book or, on a laptop or something like that, you can just kind of relax and recline in the bunk. And then in our 76-inch sleeper, we've added what we're calling the Flex Suite. So this is a Murphy-style bed. So it's a complete full-length mattress, one piece that folds up into the back wall of the sleeper. Mm-hmm. And then we have a dinette. So we have a table and 2 jump seats on either side of the table. So it gives you somewhere to, eat when you're in the truck, somewhere to kick back and relax again, watch TV sitting in a chair. Yeah. And you can have laptop there if you need it. Whatever you need there with the new workstation. And then when it's time to go to bed, just drop the mattress down and you have a comfortable place to sleep. So a lot of different options now today with the new Pioneer.
This Week in History.
This week in history, we celebrate National Transportation Week, a U.S. observance that takes place during the 3rd week of May each year. This year it'll be observed May 11 through 17. This week was established by President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1960. Here's the proclamation he signed.
Whereas the strength of our nation is dependent in large measure upon the existence of a prosperous and efficient land, air, and water transportation system, and whereas the continued prosperity and efficiency of our transportation system are the combined responsibility of the government, the users of transportation, management, and labor, and whereas it is appropriate that we recognize the importance to our country of the transportation industry by setting aside a week in which to pay special tribute to the men and women who move our nation's goods and people. And whereas the Congress, by House Joint Resolution 602, agreed to May 13, 1960, has requested and authorized the President to proclaim that the week in May 1960, in which falls the 3rd Friday of that month, shall be designated as National Transportation Week. Now, therefore, I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, President of the United States of America, do hereby designate the week beginning May 15, 1960, as National Transportation Week.
This has been This Week in History.
We are here with Scott Sokach. He's the Senior Product Manager with Complete Vehicle and Safety under his review, if you will. A comfortable driver becomes a more safe driver because they're rested, more alert, just like you alluded to earlier. Let's dive into the safety side of our Mack Pioneer. There's a lot going on, even behind the scenes, to help make this really the safest truck that Mack's ever produced.
It absolutely is the safest truck Mack has ever produced in their history. And it really starts from the chassis, and then it kind of works its way into the cab. So in the chassis, and it's really kind of carryover actually from the Anthem product, we have kind of flared frame rails at the front of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. So that allows us to drop the engine lower between the frame rails. But it's really designed in a frontal collision to break free. So the engine transmission will break free from the chassis and go underneath the cab. So that way it doesn't crush, the driver's feet or leg area of the cab. So that's kind of carried over into the Pioneer.
So it's on today's trucks as well.
It is on today's trucks, and we carried that over with the new chassis for the Pioneer.
Yeah.
But then this all new cab for the Pioneer is really something else when it comes to safety. So it's a high strength steel cab, and it is the safest cab we've ever had in our history. It passes, of course, all the federal safety standards here in North America, but we have taken a couple steps further. So we also meet all the requirements for the Swedish impact test, where we have several metric ton weights that are swung into the A-pillar and into the back wall and the roof of our cabs. And it's all the cab's designed to create a survivable space in the event of a collision. And then also, after all these tests are done, we have to be able to open the door after the cab is crushed.
Okay.
So it's pretty extensive test that we do. And we also meet, I think it's the European Union crash tests as well. So all kinds of safety in this new cab. It's incredible. I wouldn't want to drive any other truck.
Talk to me a little bit about this Mack Protect, what it offers, because it's, once again, something new, and it sounds like it's proprietary too.
It is. So, today in our Anthem product, we have the Bendix Fusion collision mitigation system. So we carry over all the features that we have with that today, and we've created our own proprietary collision mitigation system that we call Mack Protect. So, of course, you have all your forward collision mitigation features. You have your following distance warnings, adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking, all the things that we would expect with a collision mitigation safety suite. But yeah, we also with this system we've brought in both passenger and driver side radars into the system. So we only had passenger side before to see objects in our blind spot on the passenger side of the truck. So now we've got a driver's side radar, so we can pick up on both sides, and we're also can pick up pedestrians, cyclists, as well as other vehicles that are around the truck. So pretty incredible system that we've been able to create for this new Pioneer.
And that extends into airbags too.
It does.
Right?
So, yeah, we are also introducing a frontal airbag for the first time in our Mack trucks. And also, industry first here in North America, we have integrated side curtain airbags on both the driver and passenger side of the truck. So, rollovers are account for a large number of large truck crashes. And that's why we incorporated these side curtain airbags to protect the driver in a rollover situation.
What goes into planning the safety side for a truck? What are the priorities? What's the most important thing? And how does that go from like concept to testing to execution?
Yeah, so, when we developed this new cab, we knew that we wanted to meet all these different safety regulations. So that was first and foremost. And we want to protect the drivers. We always want to keep them in mind and do everything we can to protect them. And then, our safety systems, the Mack Protect system, we knew what the features we wanted. We knew what we wanted to expand over what we have today. And then, we put that in our test plans, and we crash test all these vehicles, and then we have engineers that actually go out on the roads in our test tracks as well, and test all these collision mitigation features and make sure that they're working the way that we expect them to work, and they're going to keep our customers and everybody else out on the road safe.
The visibility, because I sat in one, the visibility from the driver's seat as you're looking over the hood, I mean, pretty much the only thing you can see is the Bulldog because of the slope and the angle.
Yeah.
the windshield may not be considered a safety part of the truck. However, when you have better visibility, that changes everything as far as maneuverability. Can you speak to that too?
Yeah. So I mean, when you see the Pioneer for the first time or sit in it, I mean that windshield is hard not to notice. The rake of it, the curvature of it is like nothing we've ever had in the trucking industry to date. But it gives you all kinds of visibility. Visibility is one of our key features, both forward and to the sides of the truck. And we actually used new VR technology to create the image that you would see from the cab, and they could change like the A-pillar position of the truck, and we could see like current production. We could see other OEMs we had plugged into the system to be able to see what you would see from the driver's seat before we even built our first prototype.
Wow.
So it's pretty incredible, the technology behind the scenes that we've used to get to where we are today.
So we're nearing the end of our interview or conversation today. So I'm going to throw out just kind of a word, heritage.
Yeah.
So when you hear that, how would you define it? What do you think about?
Well, I just think about, Mack over our past 125 years. I mean, it's an incredible history. We've built some incredible trucks along the way. I'm a huge truck buff, so I go to all kinds of antique truck shows every year, and I love seeing the old B models and the LTs and the Superliners, the R models. I mean, so I think about all those trucks, as every day, and all these things that we do to build the next Mack truck. I always think about the heritage, what everybody's done before us, what we're known for. Again, I mentioned the application excellence. I think that's always on the forefront of our mind. Meeting our customers' expectations. I think that Mack stands for durability, so I think that's something that we always kind of engineer into our new products as we go along. So I think that's what maybe heritage means for me for the Mack brand.
Yeah. So I was asked to ask you about the General.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
So what is the General? Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. So I own a 1986 GMC General. So it's a joint project with my dad. So I mentioned before he worked for OEM. So he started in the trucking business working for GMC Heavy Truck. So the GMC General was my favorite truck as a kid.
Yeah.
And, my dad and I joked over the years, hey, if we ever find one of these, we should go get it and fix it up and have some fun with it.
Yeah.
So back in, this is probably 2004, I guess. I found this General up in Canada, Ontario, Canada. And my dad and I drove up, made a deal, and we went back the next week and drove it home from Canada down to North Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun project. It's still actually right now we have it in a shop. We're doing a pretty big project with it right now.
Yeah.
But we do as much as we can ourselves and get some help along the way for
very cool
for things. But we enjoy taking it to the Antique Truck Historical Society shows throughout the year down in our area, and it's just a lot of fun.
Very cool. So once again, you get to share your passion with your dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, celebrate trucking at the same time.
Yep.
Fantastic. What other topics or things would you like to add to our conversation that maybe I missed or maybe you think is important that we can include?
Yeah, I think, something interesting that, maybe our listeners have never thought about, our customers have never thought about, all the things that go into these trucks as we're developing them. it's something that I've learned because this is the biggest project I've been a part of in my career. But the number of clinics that we go throughout the engineering processes and the design process is incredible.
So what do you mean by clinic?
So what we do, we have a lot of internal clinics as well as external clinics. But we're looking at anything from, where the control stocks on the steering column are placed, how big they are, how big the lettering is on them, how they function, the detent as you twist from, reverse to neutral to drive on our transmission stock. The different colors, the fonts, the everything on the instrument cluster, where all the menus are on the infotainment screen, how you scroll through to find information. We've even getting the entry and exit steps at the right levels. All those things, we have clinics all the time to judge those with people inside the company. And we've also done a lot of this with external clinics. We did one with Virginia Tech for the interior layout of the new Pioneer, where we had, I think, over 40 external drivers come in. And, we would ask them a ton of different questions about placements of everything in the truck. And we took that information and that's what we designed the whole cockpit of the truck around.
That's got to connect with what Mack means and what Mack is, right? If you're touching the steering wheel or opening a door handle, looking at the font, how would you define what that is with Mack's, touch, feel, how it looks? What is that?
Yeah, I mean, Mack obviously has a bold look to it, has for a long time. And I think we've kept that in this new aerodynamic truck, which I think is kind of hard to do. So I think we have the Mack look. I think we have the Mack feel in this truck. Even down to things like the door handle inside the truck. That's a metal door handle that we've had for years and years and years. We've kept that inside the truck. Has a really good feel to it. I think, we really look at, all the textures inside the interior, the materials. We've done countless reviews and on all those materials, and I think it's come together to really make an exceptional truck.
So the clinics really kind of are the proof of concept, right? You come up with ideas, what works. Well, you come up with other people's opinions on what's right and go from there. Yeah. It's
pretty incredible. Everything that goes on behind the scenes that you never think about. It's pretty cool to see it come together and produce a truck at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time today, Scott, and joining us for our conversation and our podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Glad to be here.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe and make sure to follow the Bulldog.